Charting Toward Intimacy covers mature topics. Listener discretion is advised.
What if I just don't really want to have sex? Is there something bad or wrong in that? Is there something wrong with me? Can't we just not have sex very often in our marriage? Wouldn't that be okay? Welcome to Charting Toward Intimacy, the sex and intimacy podcast for Catholic women. My name is Ellen Holloway, and I'm a Catholic speaker and coach who specializes in sex and marital intimacy, and I am on a mission to help you actually enjoy and desire good, holy sex with your spouse. So, what if I just don't want sex? What if I just don't think it's that great? Maybe you feel pleasure or not, but you just don't really get it. Sex is just something to do. Or maybe sex is good when you get into it, but if you're not right in the moment, it's really not on your mind at all. And you don't really think that it needs to be. Maybe sex feels like a duty to you, or that it's just something for your husband and not necessarily for you, or that it's only good for your husband. Maybe you've even had the thought of, wow, I really just could honestly go the rest of my marriage without having sex. And what's the big deal? Why do I really even need to have sex? When we have these thoughts, it can be really easy to just sit in this spot and feel like we're right or we're justified in this thinking and that there's really nothing wrong here. I was here for a lot of my marriage. And sometimes I even slip into this thinking. It can be so easy to slip into this thinking and think that we're justified in just like, oh, we just don't really need to have sex. It's just not that important. Or we'll think things like, if it's something he wants, he'll initiate. I'll comply. I'll probably even enjoy it, but I just don't really need to be putting forth an effort if it's something that I don't really feel like I want or need. Sex is so much more than just a thing married couples do. It's so much more than just the pleasure that we receive from it. But it is so easy for sex to just be one thing on the list of things to do. It's so easy for us to just think about sex as the pleasure we get out of it, or think about sex as the pleasure that our husband gets out of it, and maybe not us. And it's like, oh, it's just something that he likes to do. And if we're in the situation where one person is enjoying it and we're kind of not, it's so easy to become resentful or simply apathetic. And I think that apathy, that is one of the most dangerous places for us to be when we think about sex. If we are apathetic towards sex, then we have no desire to improve, learn, grow, or get better. We have no desire to have sex, and we have no desire to even want to desire to have sex. We're so far removed from it. But so why is this so bad? I want to talk about two things that sex is. So the first is that sex is a renewal of our wedding vows. On your wedding day, the priest or deacon ask you a couple of questions. He said, Ellen and Kurt, obviously put in your own names there. Have you come here to enter into marriage without coercion, freely and wholeheartedly? He asked you, are you prepared as you follow the path of marriage to love and honor each other for as long as you both shall live? And the last question you were asked is, are you prepared to accept children lovingly from God and bring them up according to the law of Christ and his church? Your answers were, I have, or I am, to all three of those questions. But what do those questions even mean? Well, the first question is talking about free and total love. Have you come here to enter into marriage without coercion, freely and wholeheartedly? Are you freely coming into this union of your own volition? And are you coming to it with everything of you? Are you coming into this union to give yourself as a gift to the other person completely and totally? The next question, are you prepared as you follow the path of marriage to love and honor each other for as long as you both shall live? This is fidelity, faithfulness. Are you coming here faithfully? Are you going to remain faithful to this marriage? Are you always going to show love to this person? And then the last question is talking about your fruitfulness. Are you prepared to accept children lovingly from God and bring them up according to the law of Christ and his church? Are you willing for your marriage to be fruitful? Obviously, that question is specifically talking about children. But I think the essence of the question gets much further than just children. Are you willing for your marriage to bear fruit, to bear good fruit? So our wedding vows speak to 4 things: free, total, faithful, and fruitful love. We've talked about this on the podcast before. And this is something that John Paul II talks a lot about in Theology of the Body, is that love is free, love is total, love is faithful, and love is fruitful. Those wedding vows that you said on your wedding day, every time that you come together in sex, you are speaking them with your body. You are coming into sex freely. You are coming completely. You're giving a complete and total gift of self to the other person. You are remaining faithful, right? You're not giving that gift to anyone else. You're not squandering that gift in any other place, like books, pornography, etc. And you're allowing that union to be fruitful. You are always open to life. You're practicing NFP. You are allowing the procreative possibility of that act to always be present. So sex is a renewal of our wedding vows. When a couple says those things on the altar, they're in essence, there's a bit of the marriage is missing, a little bit of it's missing in essence, right? The marriage needs to be consummated. That's when the husband and wife come together in sex. This is important. This is not just an extra thing. God actually cares that husband and wife come together. Non-consummation is grounds for annulment. That's a big deal. It's a big deal.
We'll be back with the episode in just a minute.
Are you struggling with sexual pleasure or just really feeling connected with your husband during sex? I would argue that foreplay is probably the culprit here. Foreplay is wildly important, but not something that we're ever really taught how to do or what to do. And that is why I created a completely free 5-day Foreplay Foundations course for you. Head to vinesandfullbloom.com/foreplay or click the link in the show notes for the completely free 5-day Foreplay Foundations course. And the second thing that I want to talk about that sex is that sex is a way to image the Trinity. Sex is the way that we humans, we like measly humans, if we want to use the words of the imitation of Christ, the worms that we are. That's like an old way of speaking. We don't talk that much like that anymore, that we're worms of humans, but we are so little in comparison to God. We're so small. We have so little ability. We have so little power. But God has given us gifted us, granted us this ridiculous ability to be able to image him by coming together with our spouse. That's baffling. Because God is so much more important than us. He's so much bigger than us. And yet, he's given us this ability to unite with another human in a way that images the love that exists in the Trinity. And he's also given us this ability to co-create with him in that same act. He, the creator, the only creator, gave us that ability to create. I mean, that's why Lucifer doesn't like humans, because we got this ability to create. Because in the order, in the hierarchy, humans are less than the angels. The angels don't get this cool ability to create. They don't have bodies. And Lucifer thought that was ridiculous. Because it is. I mean, Lucifer wasn't wrong in thinking that it was ridiculous. Lucifer was wrong in the, jealousy and enmity. One way of explaining the Trinity is God the Father initiates the gift. He gives himself. He gives love. Himself as love, right? He gives love to the Son. The Son, God the Son, receives that gift fully. And in receiving that gift, he gives himself back as full gift. And the Father then receives that gift of the Son fully and gives himself back, even more fully, right? In receiving that love, he's somehow now bigger and has more to give. And then the Son receives that and gives himself. And it's just this back and forth, this spiral, this circle that keeps getting bigger. It keeps expanding. And the Holy Spirit is that love between them. It's that love that is ever expanding. This is how our union can image God, in that the man is imaging God the Father, in that he initiates the gift. The man gives the gift of his sperm to the woman in sex, physically, biologically. He initiates this gift. The woman then, by a function of her biology, receives that gift. That's how sex works, right? Biology class. She receives that gift. In receiving her husband into herself and receiving the gift of his sperm, she is becoming a gift herself. And she is giving her whole self, her body and her soul, to her husband. And her husband is able to receive that gift. Right? So we've got this same imagery here. And that action that's happening between husband and wife is a way that we can get to know God better. Because we see this beautiful action that is happening and this giving and receiving of love. And that can teach us a little bit about God. That can teach us a little bit about the Trinity. Now, obviously, the way to explain the Trinity is just one tiny infinitesimal way of explaining the Trinity. There's so many ways to explain the Trinity. We can't really fully comprehend it. But our union as husband and wife gives us some ability to understand some small aspect of it. These two things are reasons why sex is so important. And it's a disservice to ourselves, to our marriages, to God, when we become apathetic about sex. When we just don't think we need to try. When we just don't want to try. If we see sex as just one more thing to do, then we're giving the devil room in our marriage. When we don't recognize the importance and goodness of sex, we're letting the devil just rip apart our union. Sex is so good. It's so holy that it deserves our utmost respect and attention. We need to be intentional about sex, especially when we feel like we don't really want it, when we feel like we don't really need it, when we feel like we don't really care. That should be an immediate flag for us to realize that we need to put more intentionality toward our sex life and our marriage as a whole, but really toward our sex life. Thanks so much for listening. If you are not already following us on Instagram, be sure to check us out at Charting Toward Intimacy. And if you listen to podcasts on a platform that gives you the option to rate or review, we'd love for you to do that because it helps us spread the word about the podcast. If you ever have questions, comments, or episode topic ideas, please reach out to us. We love to hear from you. You can reach out on Instagram or send us an email. Our email is in the show notes. Until next time.